Hello, everyone. Ketchy1383 with Ketchy Gaming. And today I wanted to continue my, going down the rabbit hole of the Legend of Zelda manga. So I already read the Twilight Princess series, which is probably the one that got the most attention, but I also read the Ocarina of Time manga, mainly because they try to link the two together, which I'll go over eventually and how they do that, but some of you could probably guess how. And I came across some bizarre stuff that I just felt like sharing for people who've never seen this before. So in the story, Link just got through the forest temple, and it was very short. Like, a lot of the dungeons are just like 2 or 3 pages long at best. And Link leaves, being friends with Mido and all, and then it just transitions to Death Mountain, like, immediately. Which is something I touched on last time, is that they have just sudden and very odd transitions to different parts of the story. It's better in Twilight Princess, but this one was just sort of an example of how jarring it can be. But it gets worse with this one. It immediately starts out with Link fighting off against Volvagia, except he's hesitating to kill said dragon because Akira has completely and totally rewritten the monster in the manga, with Link firmly asserting that he's not evil, even though that wasn't the lore in the game. No, it's been completely and totally rewritten for the manga. So the dragon's origins is that Link found him in Kakariko Village, bought him with what rupees he had, and he had a bunch of shenanigans that Link went through, with the dragon eventually saying Link's name kind of like a parrot. And I had to double check when they first did this like 2 panels ago or 2 pages ago. I went back to the childhood section of the manga just to check if I was insane. No, they retconned the whole entire thing like 2 pages later with this whole entire story. It was jarring and really out of place. In the end, Link had to kill Volvagia because he was cursed and he was going to cause the mountain to erupt and destroy not only Death Mountain but the surrounding area. And he decapitated him. Probably the first sign that of, I guess, gore in the Zelda series that I could really recall, and something to come in later books. Mainly the Twilight series books. But yeah, it shows the dragon's decapitated head saying Link's name, which felt completely unearned, and it just messes with my, gaming sense. I don't know, that's the best way I can describe it. Like, I have played this game so many times, I know how events unfold, so it just messes with me that he did that, and it feels completely and totally unearned, especially because he retconned the whole entire childhood section of the Ocarina of Time manga just for that moment to sort of make Link emotionally vulnerable for the story. And it doesn't end there either. So it doesn't stop there. They have Link crossing a plain after defeating the dragon, and he's thirsty and stuff like that. But he ends in Kakariko Village, which doesn't make any sense because it's at the foot of Death Mountain. Why would he be crossing a plain to a village that's settled in the foothills of the mountain? Again, my gaming sense was tingling like, this is wrong. I mean, it doesn't detract from the story. It just feels wrong to me that he would put something like this so out of place in comparison to where it is in the game. And I will admit I'm unable to separate my knowledge of the game with the events in the manga, which is kind of having an effect on my opinion of the manga overall. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to mention, which is the Water Temple, which consists of 4 pages. That is it. I guess, yay for everyone who's ever hated the Water Temple in the Ocarina of Time. I guess the manga got something right there. So anyways, we're going to transition to the Twilight Princess manga. where he has his own events set up covering stuff that happened in the past. They kind of showed it in the game, yes. Unfortunately, I'm not that far in the game at this point in time to actually have footage of that. So we're just going to have to stick with the B-roll. But the manga covers events of Ganondorf being sent into the Mirror Twilight. It is very similar to that of the game. And Akira definitely moved events around a little bit for the story. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot. And just like last time, it gets a little on the dark side. It shows, yes, Ganondorf being impaled by the Sword of Light, but when it gets sent into the mirror, his flesh gets ripped off. It's kind of gory. After that, it picks up with similar events that happened in the game, with Link waking up in a cell and Minda finding him and making a deal with him to help him if she receives help from him in return. It's all very sinister and makes you kind of wonder about Minda. But again, because we know what happens, because we played the game, we know what's going to happen. So it kind of ruins the story. It's almost kind of pointless to read these knowing what's going to happen. In some cases, there's a lot that goes on that doesn't follow the game, but this actually does follow the game pretty closely in terms of its content. At least this section. So just like the game, it has Link going through the castle in order to find Zelda. I mean, there's actually quite a few pages dedicated to it, but it'd be kind of pointless just to show everything along with the meaningless dialogue that happens in between. But it covers events in the game as well. It's pretty faithful up to a point, including Link going back to the village as a wolf and retrieving the sword and shield. Nothing special there. Now, it does have something where they did expand upon, and that is more or less events that never happened in the game, but it's I don't know, I guess interaction between King Bulbin and Ilya, where King Bulbin can't understand why Ilya is sad over Link dying, and not being able to comprehend why she's sad about his death because he considered him to be weak. Anyways, so they do the event where Link meets the Light Spirit right outside of Ordon, and this is where it kind of goes off in its own thing, where it sends him off to the Forest Temple near Ordon Village. In the manga, he stays a wolf. And to be honest, I don't think any of it actually takes place in the temple, or if it does, it's only like a couple of pages, which is typical. But it's actually really hard to tell. It kind of looks like they just stay outside for the whole entire thing. So instead of Link rescuing the monkeys in his human form, he saves them and it has Link lamenting that he couldn't help more of them as they were burning to death. Yeah, this goes dark. Like, real dark. And it kind of combines events of Link finding the sparks of light with the monkey boss being controlled by them. And he kills the insect, which restores Link to his human form in the manga. Which then leads him to taking on the final boss of the dungeon, which was the same in the game. Again, this fight's like 2 pages long. Kind of hard to follow, I might add. But it is the same creature, plant, monster, whatever you want to call it. It then goes kind of off the rails with Link having a bit of a, self-imposed crisis of him being called a hero and him wondering why he's a hero when he's been running around literally on all fours. And what has he done to be labeled as a hero? I mean, it's kind of actually setting up an arc that they have for Link in the series. But that's that. There's one last little thing I wanted to share from the Ocarina of Time manga. So there's a bonus story at the end of Ocarina of Time. So at the end of the Ocarina of Time, manga, in the adult section, there's a bonus story where Link fishes out a child. Now, none of this is canon. Just to remind you, this is just a bonus story. Then again, I think none of the manga is canon. But this child belongs to the Watara Ra tribe. I probably slaughtered that. It's really weird. But it looks oddly familiar, doesn't it? Because it's a flying migratory race. And I looked it up. Apparently, the manga is actually the source of inspiration for the Rito. So, yeah, that's a kind of an interesting little fact. Assuming it's true, that is part of the origins, I guess, in terms of our world, of the origins of the Rito. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it there. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.